Welcome to the HdG Stories podcast, where we'll share our threads of memories, knowledge, experience, and history, knitting all generations into a beautiful tapestry. So please like and share, and be sure to subscribe. Now let's get started.
The first thing I want to do is ask about the Les Charmantes. And the reason is, I just recently became a member of Soroptimists. And I'm going to leave this with you. This just tells you a little bit about them. But it's a group of women, I think they are celebrating their 70th anniversary this year. My first thought was, oh, there's another group of women who basically are doing the same thing, only you did it, I guess, on a local level. So that's where we're starting. So I'm talking with Catherine Burks, and you're going to share with me about Les Charmantes.
I finished college and I taught 1 year in Frederick County. And teaching was not what I wanted to do. My older brother had told me to take education courses when I was in college because it may be that I wouldn't get the job that I really wanted, which really happened. So I taught a year and put in my application for mathematician at Aberdeen Proving Ground again after the first year, and I subsequently got the job after 1 year of teaching.
And do you know what year this would have been?
That was in 1951.
Okay.
After I started working at Aberdeen, I met other people who were working at Aberdeen as mathematicians. And I started thinking that I had really lost contact with friends from high school, and I was back in the neighborhood. So I decided to send a letter of invitation to friends that I had gone to high school with, friends that I had met at Aberdeen Proving Ground, but mainly the ones that I had gone to high school with, I said, because I had lost contact with them. So I did that, and several people answered, and that's how Les Charmantes got started.
Now, how did you approach, what was in the letter? Was it just a get-together, or did you have a specific purpose at that time?
The only purpose at that time was to reconnect with my friends that I'd gone to high school with that were still here, and that's how it happened.
Okay.
And invited them to my home. I was living with my parents, and they came, and that's.
Do you remember how many were at the beginning?
That first night there were 6, I think. And then we decided that we would start meeting once a month. And in so doing, we, decided that we would set a certain number of people because we wouldn't be able to hold but so many people since we were having it in our homes. I'd say the first year it was mainly still my friends from high school and the 2 people that I worked at Aberdeen Proving Ground with that I had met. So we, met once a month, and we decided to, form a group. And I really don't even remember who came up with the idea of the name.
Does it have a meaning?
Yes, it does. It means It's French, meaning the charming ladies.
Oh, how cool is that? Now, at this point, was it still kind of a social group?
The first year, yes.
Do you have the names of the original group? Do you remember them anymore?
Some of them, now they were still actually only 2 people that were there the first night, still alive and active. Dorothy Collins and myself. And ironically, Dorothy and I had been friends since elementary school. Our first president was really a friend from high school, but she was also my cousin. We were in the same class in high school.
What was her name?
Constance Brown Scott. She married a Scott. And then there was Minnie Smith, Finney. Those were the ones from who were high school classmates. Then we had 2 people that I worked with at HdG.
I know, I'm pushing that memory button. I can see the Rolodex working.
Yes, because actually what we did was, after we got together, we started, other people were asking people to join, not just me. Mm-hmm. I did it initially, but the other members asked people to join. Eventually, one of my sisters decided to join, and one of the ladies that I worked with, her sister joined.
So, at what point, what was the largest of your group? Do you remember, when you had the most members in the group?
Oh, we decided to limit the membership to 15.
15?
Yes.
And that was because you were meeting at people's homes and stuff. It was a little more manageable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus, sometimes it's more manageable to do anything.
Yes. Exactly.
You can't move forward. There's too much chatter sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and was there a mission or a purpose once you decided to make this a little more formal?
Well, we first decided to really initially just do things to have fun, mm-hmm. And as we started doing that, we realized that we had been blessed as a group of people, and we decided that we would try to do something to help other people.
You were all working?
Yes.
You all had careers? Okay.
Yes. And then we once we started doing those things, we came up with different things in the community that could be done. We started doing things like having plays. We used to put on plays and just to realize that you can't just sit at home and do nothing.
And where would you do the plays at?
We did them at churches and at the high school in Havre.
At the colored high school?
No, we did it at Havre High School.
Okay.
For one thing, the colored school that was there did not have a stage to really have it. And then we'd have activities for young kids. As a matter of fact, we were a precursor to that the Black Youth in Action had.
Were all of these black women in the group? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, for one thing, at that time, things were very segregated. So.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. If you did this at the high school, you did the plays at the high school, even though you were an all-black group. Isn't that, and this would have been before segregation, right? Or before
Before
integration. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you were movers and shakers.
Well, for some reason they allowed us to have it there, you know.
And you did it, I presume, as a fundraiser then for
Yes.
For being able to help youth and that type of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know, during segregation times, things were there was no logic to them, I'll put it that way. Anyway.
Oh, I wish I was living inside when you're grinning about something you're remembering.
No, it's just that. Well, I'll give you an example. My parents, my mother didn't work, and my father, you know, raised things on the farm, and then he did other outside work. And so most of the time when he got home, it was during the week, it was late in the evening. We were not allowed to, say, try on clothes in the stores, say in Havre, except, and we had to come in the back door. And I remember the owner of the store told my father, "Oh, come on in the front door," because it was late when we had to go, and most of the white people would not see us coming in the front door.
So there was a half a heart there.
Yes.
There was somebody who cared, but still had the rules, the
Yes.
unspoken rules, actually.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because he wanted the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Now, did you have to rent the school when you gave the plays?
No, we didn't have to pay to use
See,
it.
that's just so intriguing.
No.
Like you say, there was no logic, there was no sense, except that somebody thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you get a good response to your plays?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were well.
And about how long did you do the plays and things?
I think we did them twice.
2 performances or 2 different plays?
Oh, two performances.
Performances, okay. And did you do that, was that an annual thing or?
It was annual for maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Then it becomes a task.
And then, yeah, and then finding people to be in them,
right.
Things like that.
Right.
And it was all.
And you're all working.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like you had tons of time to be studying for plays and things besides. Yeah.
Yeah, and then shortly thereafter, I got married and I moved to Baltimore, but I continued to try to come to the meetings up here.
Okay.
Since I still worked at Aberdeen, so I came up to work, and then we'd meet on Thursday nights. That on Thursdays I would stay up with my parents and with my father. Right?
And this was once a month, right? They met
Yes,
once a month?
Once a month.
Okay. How did that organization progress?
As we got more, and I'd say people with different careers, it sort of branched out to different areas, and because we even had, my sister, for one thing, taught in Bel Air. And when she came in, she brought in another friend of hers who lived in Bel Air. So it sort of became different ideas and things from different areas. We had people who lived in Havre Grace. It was mainly limited to Havre Grace, Aberdeen, and Bel Air.
So is it still going now? The organization still active?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the organization like now? Is it still limited to 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, we only have, 10 members. We lost 2 members this year. One of those was my sister, and another, Maggie Johnson, who lived in Havre, and she was one of the younger members.
Can we list the members that are now active?
Let's see. I'll
You.
start with Dorothy Collins, Marie Brown, Ruth Vaughn, Sandra Mosley, Bertha Copeland, Brenda Cassell. Now she is one of the younger members. Her mother was a member, Linnell Cardenas, Ruth Manning. Then it's 9 instead of 10. I'll put it this way. We've been in existence 66 years.
Yeah. You and Dorothy are the only originals, right?
Right.
Now, do you do other things besides this concert coming up?
Oh, yes. Each year we give a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
We select a recipient, and we give a scholarship to that recipient until she finishes college.
Oh, really?
Every year, yes. And then we get a new member.
Okay, so you do one and follow them through their
Yes,
college,
yes.
as opposed to a little bit to 10 people or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how do they get to be that person?
We ask them to fill out an application that we ask them to do, which is what do they do civically. We get their transcript of their grades. Ask them to write a paragraph about something that they feel good about themselves. Look at those and select someone from what we receive.
You're not online, you don't have a website, right?
No.
So it's basically like of the group, you may know people or may mention it in church or something like that.
Or from the school.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So just through the resources you have, you let people know that it's available.
Right.
And is it for a black student?
Not necessarily.
Okay, and it can be male or female?
No, we usually give it to a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, female.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this scholarship?
The scholarships, whoa, let's see. We've been doing that for, I would say, at least 50 years or more. The first person that we gave a scholarship to is a lawyer in Bel Air.
Still a lawyer? I mean, still working now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it didn't have to be a 4-year degree?
Does not have to be 4 years now.
And all out of this 10 to 15 group of women. Pretty impressive to do that for 50 plus years.
Well, we sort of enjoy doing it, and we give caps, socks, and things to schools now also. Like elementary schools. Each year we find out if there is something that a particular school, we change schools. If we find that the elementary school kids may need socks or hats or gloves and things like that, we usually give them something during the cold season to help kids at a certain particular school.
So 50 years was in 2003. I see here like things like Habitat for Humanity, you helped with lunches. So it's a pretty varied, because of the diversity of your group in terms of what they do for careers and stuff,
Yes.
you have lots of input from
Yes.
things that you can help with,
Yes.
which is amazing. So can we talk a little bit like about how your family, what you can share with your dad? Where did your family live related to Aberdeen Proving Ground before they got moved?
The area where they live, parts of it has been a part that you have to get a pass to go to.
Where they did the testing for mustard gas and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah.
Where you have to get permission to get back in there?
To go in there now, yes.
Was there a name for that area that your family grew up in?
I was just getting ready to. Yeah, because they have kept a part of it such that there are still some grave sites.
That's what I was going to ask next. That I would assume it was like a community and had a church, and most of the time back then you buried people by your church, you know. So
yeah.
I would have assumed they would have had a community that was there and would still have cemeteries and stuff.
Yeah, there are cemeteries still there. You have to get a pass to go on that part of it now. Well, you would be limited to a certain area.
Now, did you live there before?
No, it was before I was born.
Okay.
My father bought this property in 1921. Yeah, 1921. When he had to leave, he had 4 children.
And how many are there of you total?
My mother gave birth to 12, but she lost 2 shortly after childbirth.
Okay.
So there were 10 of us growing up.
The good old days.
Yes.
Are you spaced pretty far apart or all close together?
Most of us are at least 2 years apart.
And how long did your mom live?
Unfortunately, my mother died 2 months after I got married. Yeah, because she had a stroke the night I got married.
Oh my!
And I faulted myself a lot for a while after. Yeah. And she had made the statement that she wanted to live long enough to see her children grown, and that I got married in May, and my youngest brother finished college that June, just before she passed.
Wow, so she made it through. And what year was that?
That was 1954. Well, my father started selling all of the cattle that he had and things because he just knew he was going to die soon, and he lived to be 100.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, and when did he die?
What year?
What year?
He died in 1987.
Oh my gosh. That was a long time after your mom to be selling things off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to stop. He had to stop after a while.
I was going to say that was a bit of a surprise or a jolt.
I understand that he was sick quite a bit when he was young, trying to go to school and stuff. But after then, he was hardly sick a day in his life.
Oh, darn. And he was 100. Do you remember any stories from your family, like what it was like living at APG? Did they have a farm there also?
His father was sharecroppers.
Do you go back in your history of are there slaves back in your history that you're aware of?
No, as far back as we can have found, really. They were freemen.
And were they always from Maryland?
Yes.
So then he got money to buy this property. Was it a large farm?
Well, we have a little over 70 acres.
70?
Yes.
Did he sell some of that off in that interim?
He only sold a little less than half an acre.
Oh, so he wasn't quick to sell land.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, do you have children?
I have 3.
3?
3 boys.
Are they in the area?
No, the closest one is in Silver Spring. One is in New York.
New York City?
And one is in Florida.
Well, they're really spread out.
Only one is married, and he has 2 grown daughters now, and they grow up too fast, the grandchildren.
They do. Yeah, they absolutely do.
Yeah.
So you have 3 boys, 2 granddaughters.
I said I wanted a girl and a boy. God saw fit to give me 3 boys. And then I said, okay, maybe I'll have some granddaughters. And God saw fit to give me 2 granddaughters, but he moved them to Florida. So
they're the ones in Florida.
So I wouldn't sport. I had envisioned, I love to sew and make clothes and things. And I just envisioned doing all of this sewing and everything with my granddaughters, but he put them down in Florida.
Well, that wasn't very kind.
I said, I guess God said, I'll save you from yourself, because you and your granddaughter would be crazy.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. So you came, they were already on the farm when you came. Now, was it a working farm then?
Yeah, it was. Well, my father kept it going until he died, because he still had chickens and a cow when he died.
So when he worked it, did he do like vegetables and sold them, or?
He didn't sell the vegetables so much, but.
Well, with 10 kids, you probably had to eat it.
Oh yeah.
Good point there.
Oh yeah. But I always saw my parents actually helping other people.
I mean, like giving produce and things. So they were always looking out for others. And so how did your dad earn a living?
Well, that's what I was saying. He sold things on the farm, and then he worked at Aberdeen Proving Ground towards the latter part of his working, and he sold chickens, eggs. We had fruit trees, apple trees, peach trees, 1 pear tree.
So did you have like a little farm stand or something like that?
No. They used to transport the eggs, and really during the September and October, that's when mainly they sold the chickens, and they would take them to people's houses to sell.
Okay. You went to school where was your first school, the grade school?
I don't know if you know the area called Swan Creek. My grade school was at Swan Creek. I don't know if you know that there's a church on, what route is that? On Route 7 on Post Road, Old Post Road in Aberdeen. And you leave Aberdeen and you come towards Havre Grace on Old Post Road, and there's a church.
On the right-hand side, coming towards us.
No, it's on the right-hand side if you're going from Havre Grace to Aberdeen.
Okay.
You go over, if you're coming from Havre Grace, and you make a turn and go over the railroad bridge, and then keep going down to Post Road.
Right.
It'll be on the right. And there was a school adjacent to the church. That's where the school was that we attended. Elementary school.
Was there a name for that school?
All I ever remember it being called was Swan Creek School.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the school.
The school had really 2 rooms, and we had grades 1 through 7.
And how did you get there?
Walk.
From here?
From here.
No way. Grade school? Oh, you can really say that you walked through snowdrifts to get to school for miles. it's not so bad going down as it is coming home, because you're up the hill.
Well, there were several hills.
Wow, that's amazing. This would have been like 1936?
36.
Oh my goodness. And you went 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
What time did you leave and what time did you get home?
You know, I don't really remember what time we left, but school opened at 9 and we got out at 2:30.
And you got home, any idea?
Let's see. It would take us about an hour.
And did you walk the whole 7 years? I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I mean, those are things you hear about and just never think about, that like, oh yeah, right, but in grade school, that's amazing. Did you have many others that you walked with? Well, your brothers and sisters, of course.
No.
Was there others in the neighborhood in the area that went with you?
During the time that we were growing up, well, I think there was two black families that lived in this area when my father first bought the land. But during the time that I came along, there was only one other black family, and we all of these houses were not here, and there were other white families that lived here.
Did they walk to Havre?
No, but get ready to tell you. They provided a school bus for the white kids that came halfway up the road for the white kids and picked them up, but we still had to walk. They didn't have bus transportation for us.
Wow. Do you remember how many kids were in the school while you were there?
I don't know exactly, because they had 2 teachers who had to teach the 7th grades, and students came from Aberdeen, Perryman.
So a pretty good area there. Now, were you required to go to school?
I kind of doubt it. I doubt it because the school was not provided by the school system. The money for the school was provided by the parents and a Good Samaritan who gave money to black schools in different areas.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of his name because he provided quite a bit of money for quite a few black schools. And they tried to find out, my nephew was looking into schools that this person had provided, and this was, say, 3 years ago.
Now, was this a prominent black man?
No, this was a white, because they were restoring a foundation that he had set up. They were trying to restore the schools that he had.
Oh, okay. After 7th grade, what happened?
After 7th grade, by the time I got ready for high school, that's when my parents and other parents had gotten together to say something to the Board of Education to get a high school for black students. And they didn't get one until 1930, the year I was born.
So was in 1930, was that the Havre black school, or was that a different black school?
No, that's the Havre.
Havre school. Okay.
The one that they have now is.
Okay. And that's where you went
That's where I went.
And graduated from there?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of things. Tell me, as a youngster, what your day was like. I mean, what did you do for fun? Did you have to work all the time? What was life like then?
No, I didn't have to work all the time. My parents were believers in you work and you play. Can't do all of either one all the time.
So what did you do when it was play?
We played baseball. Let's see, at those times you had jumping rope,
Mm-hmm.
hopscotch,
Jacks.
jacks.
Did you lived on the farm, so did you go to town on a regular basis or anything like that? Or was the movie theater open then?
Well, there was a movie, yes, segregated.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were not big proponents of that at all.
Of movies?
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, did you go to town much or only for special occasions like school clothes or things like that?
Yeah, that was mainly why we went.
Because you didn't have to do your Saturday grocery shopping because you had the farm.
Yeah, well,
So you probably didn't have to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Do you remember, you had a cow, so you probably didn't have to have milk delivered. You were pretty self-sufficient at that point in time.
Yeah.
And did you play much with neighbors or just mostly your family, extended family, that type of thing?
No, we played with neighbors, and this is more of the craziness,
The rules, non-rules?
segregation. Yeah. Yeah, because we played together.
And so as a youngster, with these various rules that didn't make any sense, what were your feelings about some of these things? Like you played with the kids on the road, but you didn't all ride the school bus, things like that. What was that like growing up for you, and dealing with that? How was it like?
Oh, there were kids who would say, call us names and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But you learn to live ignoring it.
How would you teach that today when nobody seems to ignore anything? If you were with a young person today, and nowadays it doesn't even have to be color, it can be somebody making fun of the way you wear your hair and they can be awful. What wisdom would you share today from your personal experiences?
I really don't know because I listened to what was it this past week when a child committed suicide over bullying. Oh yeah, it said because they were saying that he was gay and he committed suicide this past. I listened sometime to some of the judge shows, and there seems to be an epidemic of girls fighting. They just love to fight. In the first place, I don't like being hurt.
Exactly. I don't like the drama. I get tired of the drama. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to watch.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they seem to almost be thriving on it. And it does feed itself. We all know that.
Well,
just like
true.
rumors, it all of that feeds itself.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm curious how you knew you wanted to be a mathematician. When did that ever strike?
I always liked working with numbers, and my father used to challenge us from the time we were little. He used to use his wagons and things to collect garbage from homes in Aberdeen. And he would usually do this on a Saturday. And when he came home, he would put his money on the table and have us to count it. And then I used to see him when he would build like chicken houses and a barn and things like that. And he would come in and have us to measure boards and things like that. And I just got so fascinated with him asking me to do it, asking us to do it, because he would do it with all of us. When I went to school, I just liked working with numbers. And when we were in high school, the principal had started teaching us algebra. And the superintendent of school came in one day and made him stop teaching us algebra. It was only 4 of us in my class that he was teaching. You don't have enough students in the class. And I just liked what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept doing it, but he had to do it on the sly. Black kids shouldn't be taught this. And when I got ready to go to college, I knew I liked to sew. And I had no idea what I wanted to major in or anything. So I signed up for home economics. I was going to major in home economics. And then I got to thinking. I went to Morgan, and I had, signed the paper saying I was going to major in home economics. And then after I got to thinking, I said, I like sewing, but I don't like the cooking.
Yeah. And I don't know if I want to sew forever, right?
No, I hadn't even thought about the sewing part because I liked that part. And so my oldest brother's wife taught at the high school. And I was saying it to her, and she said, well, Catherine, you like math. Well, why don't you major in that? And I said, oh, you're right. So, and in the meantime, they had started hiring black mathematicians at Aberdeen. And I got to meet a black lady that they had hired while I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was telling me about it and told me to apply. So I applied just before I graduated. And they kept telling me that they didn't have any positions. But yet, I had seen where they had hired even some black ones in the meantime, because they were, living here and I was living. So that's why I had to have a job. Mm-hmm. So I took a job teaching the first year. And then in June, I went back and applied again. And so I got the job and didn't have to teach.
So persistence paid. I'm not giving up. And what was the work like as a mathematician at APG? What kind of things did you do?
Well, we were doing things like preparing the types of weapons that they were going to use, and making those types of weapons, and it included, mathematical
formulas,
models, and things that we had to solve in reference to.
Kind of different than what you did in school, huh?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you retired from that?
No, I worked there Aberdeen 18 years. And then I had my third son.
Okay, surprise.
Surprise. Surprise. And then I couldn't find a babysitter. So my husband and I decided that, that we could make it on his salary. So I stopped working until he was what, in middle school. And then I got tired of just sitting home. We worked on the second computer that there ever was at Aberdeen. So I went back to take some classes in learning the most recent type of coding and programming for.
Do you remember what that was?
That was
I can think.
Fortran.
I was gonna say Fortran or
Yeah.
COBOL. Yeah.
Fortran, because Fortran was more of the mathematical type of
Right.
programming. So I took that because I didn't really want to come back up to Aberdeen, living in Baltimore.
Okay.
So because my kids were still in school, so I took a job working in Essex, Maryland, for the Department of the Army. Never did come back up to Aberdeen, and
You didn't come back up to Aberdeen then
No.
after that?
no, because it was close. And when anything happened at school with the kids, I was close enough.
So were you
So
able,
that-
did that allow you then though to retire from a government position with the
Yeah,
full
what I-
benefits of retirement?
Yes, what I did was after my youngest went to college, and then I at that time I was working for the Treasury Department with computers, and that's where I retired from.
If you were to describe your life as a whole, or what would be some of your most, like your struggling moments and your, what you consider like the beautiful moments? And I know there's lots, family and children and stuff, but as a woman who's achieved all that you've achieved, what things come to mind as far as struggles? And I know you are pretty optimistic and pretty determined, but there had to be things there that were or challenges that you had to like kind of buckle yourself in the seat to accomplish or whatever.
I don't know.
So I'm presuming then, like, you didn't take it, you evidently like didn't take it personal, for instance, like when you didn't get that HdG job right away.
Well, I took it personal, yes, but it wasn't surprising. But I knew I just couldn't just let it go at that.
Can you phrase that in a way that would be like words of wisdom today?
I don't know, just never give up. If you want something, well, yeah, because you have to, in essence, at some point, go on, as opposed to just dwelling on what might have been or what wasn't. You have to keep trying.
And do you feel accomplished with what you've done? I'm going to chuckle because a guy would say, absolutely. Or was there a goal you didn't get that you wanted at some point, and for various reasons couldn't go there?
Well, that happens too. You feel both, because I tell everybody I used to like to watch my father building and things like that, and if I had known anything about architecture, I think that's what I might have done, because I used to like to watch him build the building.
You just didn't know.
Didn't
Right.
No, and it wasn't something that black people could get into. Just had never heard of it.
Did you see the movie or read the book, The Hidden Figures?
Hidden Figures.
Yeah. How did you feel about that?
I could identify with it. We didn't have to go as far to the bathroom. but I'll never forget that the first black lady that I knew of that worked at Aberdeen told me about the first black that they had. She said she was from New Jersey, and at that time you had to submit an application with a picture. When they looked at the picture, they didn't know that she was African American. She was that fair. Mm-hmm. Until she got there, after they had hired her. And when they discovered that they put her in a room, it was a small room, about the quarter of the size of this room, where they
like
had
a closet.
Yeah, well, they had a chair in there, and women could go in there if they didn't feel well or anything like that, and sit. That was where they put her office by herself. I imagine, and they heard them make the statement, "What are we going to do with her?" I imagine they must have thought that she would leave.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
I truly appreciate meeting you, first of all. You're as delightful as the interview I saw that they gave me for that program.
We hope you've enjoyed today's HdG Stories podcast. We encourage you to subscribe. We hope you will share with your friends. Till the next story, we invite you to visit us at hdgstories.com.